Many social factors affect violence and aggression, often making it difficult for detectives and scientists to determine who might act aggressively and when. Through models, observational learning, and emotions, however, we can begin to narrow it down. Models are one factor in violence and aggression and are extremely important, especially in the case of children. A model can range from a parent or sibling to even someone a child sees at a red light or in a restaurant. When a child sees someone behave negatively and receive no punishment for their actions, they then assume that the behavior is good. Once they've mastered imitating that behavior, they can begin to expand on it. For example, a child might begin with screaming, and once they realize it works, they will expand on that behavior to screaming and kicking. It's important to note here that most people peak in physical aggression around the age of 2. Typically, up to this point, it has produced tangible rewards, and parents are now tasked with socializing their children out of aggression. This happens using positive reinforcement and punishment. When a child responds with unwanted behavior, one must give them some variant of punishment. On the other hand, when a child responds with socially acceptable behavior, they must be rewarded. It is important to note a study by Sears, Maccabee, and Levin that found that physical aggression was more prevalent in children who endured physical punishment. These children also are more likely to be physically aggressive toward their peers, and it was further identified that these children played more aggressively when in the view of an adult who allowed aggression as compared to when no visible adult was present. Interestingly enough, children are more likely to imitate a physically aggressive male model. Verbal aggression, however, is more likely imitated when introduced by a same-sex model. Boys are also more likely to imitate physical aggression compared to girls. Observational learning is the process by which individuals learn behavioral patterns through observation and performance. This begins at birth and continues through adulthood. Infants begin by imitating facial expressions, and they receive input from their parents, such as a smile or frown, indicating whether that was a good or bad behavior. This attaches emotion to the expression. This is how children learn and develop their own set of social skills. As they age, the size and complexity of these skills will grow with the child. This is really important when connected to aggression and violence. Discovered by Hubbard, when compared to their peers, aggressive children were more likely to believe that their behavior would produce tangible rewards, reduce aversive treatment, increase self-esteem, and avoid a negative image. This is a result of the positive reinforcement that has been accompanying the behavior this far. Furthermore, if a child grows up in an environment with an abundance of aggression and violent interactions and minimal regulation, their aggressive behavior is more likely to be resistant to change. This is because the behavior has been consistently reinforced and maintained. Aggression can also lead to feelings of control, especially when things have not been going the way that one thinks that they should. An example of this is an individual thinking that a political leader has not been doing a good job or not been doing right by the people. This can lead to feelings of wrongdoing and subsequently aggression, causing violent behaviors. Many serious acts of aggression are driven by a perceived view of an event and emotional input. Emotions work with feelings and perception to come up with a reaction. Many situations and scenarios that humans encounter become a blueprint for later social interaction. This is why observational learning is so important. When we encounter a social situation, we might say, "Next time, I'll do this differently." And next time, we remember that and do it differently. Or even the ability to engage in small talk. One might remember the questions to ask and things to say. As individuals encounter a higher number of social interactions, they are able to hone in on their social blueprints, or scripts. Each script has an emotion attached, whether it be negative or positive. The brain begins sifting through all the scripts with emotions attached to find ones that work in each social situation. And individuals with aggressive behaviors, they are more likely to also have aggressive scripts. For example, an individual with an aggressive behavior in a social situation they perceive as hostile is more likely to result to an aggressive script, leading to violent behavior. It is important to note that when the brain is looking through scripts, some might be personally negative. To elaborate, An individual might have been using a script before, but did not get the results that they were intending, and so they are less likely to use it again. This is very important when paired with desensitization to violence. An individual who's desensitized to violence does not regard it as a negative thing, and as a result, they are more likely to use it because it does not induce bad feelings. In conclusion, modeling, observational learning, and emotions play a large role in social situations and their place in violence. With violent behavior stemming from a large array of factors, it can make it difficult for detectives and scientists to determine who might act aggressively and when. However, with continued research and behavioral studies, we can continue to learn and educate on social learning factors in aggression and violence.